Hey everyone, it's Craig with WBJJ. Just want to take a second to tell you about Dahlimer Sports Surfaces. At the Jiu-Jitsu Barn and all world-class facilities, you'll find Dahlimer mats. For jiu-jitsu, wrestling, or practice rooms, Dahlimer has you covered. Even for home training. For the very best in sports surfaces, choose Dahlimer. We use them every day right here at the Jiu-Jitsu Barn, and we support Dahlimer 110%. So make sure if you're getting yourself a new mat for wrestling, jiu-jitsu, or anything else like that, choose Dahlimer. You can find them at dahlimer.com. Hey everybody, welcome to All Things Jiu-Jitsu. I'm Craig Anthony, and with me is
Papa John Gorman. Thank you. Calm down. We're going to give you an opportunity in a minute.
Right off the bat, just to let you guys know, we are brought to you by Dahlimer Sports Surfaces. Right now, they're really focused on home training. With the whole COVID and everything going on right now, home training is where it's at. So if you guys need to get a sports surface for your garage, your living room, anything for that home size, you want to get a 10 by 10 or something even smaller, you can order that right now at dahlimer.com. So make sure you check out Dahlimer Sports Surfaces right now at dahlimer.com for all of your training needs. And we do want to welcome you all here to All Things Jiu-Jitsu. Make sure you hit that subscribe button below when you're on YouTube, and of course a little bell icon so you get a notification every time we launch a new video. So John, how are you feeling today, sir?
Feeling great. How are you?
I'm going to take your word and say I am better than I deserve.
That's still in my line, but that's okay. You went motorcycle riding this weekend.
I did. I had some incredible times with guys. But no matter how much fun I had this weekend, I've been just waiting to get here today. Today was my thing. I've had ideas. So I wanted to be able to talk about a couple things, but I think right now, the one topic I'm going to talk about, we've seen in the past couple of years, and I'm going to get your opinion on this. We've seen the insurgence of super fights. Companies like Fight to Win putting on events. Let's talk about those versus tournament style. Your opinion on the quality or the necessity if you had one competitor, a really good competitor in your school, are you more interested in seeing them go through a tournament style stuff, say IBJJF or AGF or any of those, or super fights?
Obviously, I would be.
I'm throwing a curveball at you today.
Well, you are, but that's good. That clearly for me, I'm more interested in the average student as a whole. So I want the students to get the experience in a tournament because it's a growth experience, as you and I have talked about before. But it's a chance to put what they've learned to work and compete. But there's a different element that occurs during a tournament. They deal with a whole lot of issues they don't deal with in a school where they train. First, they're fighting with someone else who's coached by someone else. There's nothing like being on the other side of a mat, facing your opponent and looking over in the corner, and there's Hickson Gracie coaching him to beat your ass, and you're going, holy shit. You're actually getting a chance not just to roll with him, but you're rolling with his coach because his coach has taught him. And that's actually an amazing experience. But by and large, it's what it does for you, the butterflies, everything that's involved in tournaments, because tournaments are a different experience. You leave there having grown, no matter what happened. The problem for a long time was that you didn't get exposed or deep enough into a tournament because usually, for Americans anyway, for a long time, it was one and gone. You go, you have your fight, you lose it, boom, you're out. It's over. Now, the opposite of what we're talking about now is for the stars. I think, to be perfectly blunt, I think it's great that they have this venue, and that there's a market for it. So people want to see these champions fight. They want to see the competition. You'll see themes develop eventually around that, probably like you do everything else. But for me, it's more important I'm more concerned about my student, not a star.
It's a good point. And I could say from my personal experience in doing jiu-jitsu in tournaments, my first tournament was one and done. And I think a big downfall about that, especially at the time, this was 2010, 10, my first tournament, and it was a Naga tournament in Dallas, as I really quickly realized we have a lot of people that'll never be necessarily the average jiu-jitsu practitioner will never be the world champion IBJJF top guy. The average is the hobbyist, the guy having fun, who now he's spending his money to travel. Say he goes from, say, Arkansas to California. We're talking airfare. We're talking hotel rooms, food, and all this stuff. Plus their fees, they lose their first match, and it's all over.
Yeah.
Imagine
flying to Brazil.
Correct. Now, I'm glad that we have our tournaments, say the non-IBJJF tournaments, so your AGFs, your Nagas, and those have started to insert more of you'll have your losers brackets, and you'll be able to still fight up.
Double
eliminations. I think it's a much better program to do that. I think it's people get more for their money.
Absolutely.
I also like that if you sign up for a tournament and it's like $80, that they're only charging maybe $20 more if you want second or third divisions to keep up your day. I made the mistake in my first tournament to do gi only. So I showed up, I got beat my first match, day over, I'm all done.
How far did you drive to go to that one?
Dallas.
Okay.
Which isn't bad, but it still was, a whole weekend of, you're spending money on hotels and food and all that stuff.
First tournament I went to was Pan Am's. My first tournament was the Pan Am's. We called them the Pan Am's then. Actually, I owned the Pan Am's for a brief period of time to assist the Gracie family at the time, just over a hump. But I went out to fight in it before I was established with them. And I was just going with Mario Yamazaki's school, Yamazaki Jiu-Jitsu from D.C. Flew all the way out there, and they wanted me to fight in the blue belt division. Well, I was a white belt. And they certified to the IBJJF that I was a blue belt. And so we had... Again, there might have been 7 guys in the whole division. I ended up coming in, actually fighting. Actually, I fought for second and lost it. And so I got third, is the way that went. And when I got third place, a bronze medal, which is over there on the wall too, that on the plane coming back, we realized that I had medaled, number one, and in the Pans, which is the biggest tournament at the time in America, and I was a white belt with 2 stripes. And so when I got back to Washington and I told them I enjoyed this, I'm going to do some traveling. I said, in other words, I'm going to be leaving. They promoted me to blue belt. Like within a week of that tournament. And so that's where what we talked about earlier, getting promoted sometimes in relationship to tournaments, that faster promotion project. But I like tournaments, and I just think the growth is exponential for you.
I think it's a really important thing for everybody to get a chance at. I think everybody should roll at a tournament at least once at each belt level. For me, now I like to compete. I think everybody should compete as much as you can, as long as you're comfortable competing and have fun competing. If it's not fun, because some people, I can tell you from personal experience, when you have the butterflies and you're all types of issues, and some people just don't really not comfortable competing. I get it. I understand it. But I think everybody should test their mettle. Test yourself. It hasn't anything to do with winning a medal or anything. It's about testing yourself. And I think the self-growth that we get from
I'll buy the growth. The self-test, that's an element for some people, but I don't think it's necessary for everybody. What is necessary for everybody is the tournament experience, though.
Yeah.
At some point, they need to do it, or they don't really understand what they're doing. They have a rudimentary understanding, and it's fun because they go to class and they're exercising and they're doing playing around, that's fine. But if they're going to take it further, let's say someday they decide, wow, I was pretty good at jiu-jitsu in my class anyway. I think I'll start a jiu-jitsu school. I've got the rank for it and everything else. Well, how are they going to be able to actually impart the knowledge or the background that people need, and to consider that as their students are growing in the art, if they don't understand the competition aspect of it? It's the same, in my opinion, that we all skip the education on referees, for example. And that's another thing we can talk about another time. But it's the same point. You have to have the experience to make yourself a complete jiu-jitsu fighter, for want of a better term.
Well, we are working on some longer podcasting stuff. We've got a couple things we're working out. We do thank you for coming and checking us out right now on all things jiu-jitsu. We thank our sponsor, Dahlimer Sports Surfaces. We will be back with you with more stuff all about jiu-jitsu on the next episode. I'm Craig Anthony.
Papa John.
And we will see you on the mats.